What is light language? My cognitive mind actually has no clue. Look it up on the internet, and it's defined as a form of communication that transcends traditional language, using vibrational expressions to connect the soul and higher consciousness. It can be expressed through spoken words, writing, gestures, or sounds, and is often used for healing and spiritual guidance. Look it up in a book, The Unlocking the Mysteries of Light Language by Patricia Walls, and she says that light language is the language that humans spoke before we entered into the Tower of Babel. I don't know what any of that means. I can tell you about my experience, though. My experience is that when I start to channel light language, my brain goes into a different function. I can feel it shift inside my head into a totally different space of being able to understand and work with the world around me. Not just the physical dimension, the energetic expressions thereof, and into larger and larger spheres of influence. I first noticed this shift in the way that my brain functions actually when I was a child. I'd be sitting with friends and all of a sudden I'd have clarity on what's going on with them. I'd have certain words in a certain order that absolutely struck true for them, and it was definitely a channeled message that was coming through. As I got older, I started seeing things as well. Not pink elephants running across the road, but it was actually seeing their faces change. It took me a long time to figure it out. Well, what I discovered was that their faces would shift based on the chakra that they were actually aligned with. People will look differently when they're coming from the root and sacral chakras than if they're coming from their heart. It's a different sort of an expression. It's a different vibrational energy that's there. Light language itself came online for me actually as I was drawing one of my drawings, the Goddess Grove. This piece itself actually came to my mind in a flash. A patient had asked me to draw her a Goddess Grove. No constraints other than the name itself. And I saw this image immediately in my head. Started working on it. 100 hours later, we're working on finishing up the treetops, and I notice I'm writing the same things again and again to try to articulate the foliage on the trees. But I recognized what was being written there. So, hop on the internet, go look it up. Lo and behold, the patterns that I'm seeing are similar to patterns that other people were writing, and they were calling it light language. So we started an investigation. Found a YouTube video by a woman in Ireland, and she had an activation. So listened to that. Interesting, couple of minutes out of life, not a big deal. And the next morning, I couldn't speak English. It's as if my mind was totally functioning everything else, but the words that were coming out were actually garbled. Lo and behold, sounds just like light language. Everything else is functioning. Did a quick safety check to make sure there was no signs of stroke, anything else that was actually concerning. Take the blood pressure. I'm an acupuncturist, so check my pulse. All of that is totally normal. Just something got a little crosswired in my mind. And what I realized was crosswired actually goes back to a previous piece that I had been working on. When I first discovered sacred geometry and I was working on my initial expressions of drawing the flower of life, as I was drawing it, I could feel things shifting inside of my head. I could feel old neural pathways breaking apart and new ones being formed. And light language did the same thing for me. So I dove into it. And after a weekend of not having really any English and plenty of laughs between me and my dog, Monday morning came along and I was able to pop myself out of it. Able to go through the work week, able to do all the things I was supposed to do, and yet I had this other communication that was constantly running in the background. It became very difficult for at least the first couple of months to make sure I was speaking in English, because I was translating both the English and the light language at the same time. And over the years, I started working light language into my artwork and putting it in as expressions, using it for shading and texture, and putting in a vibrational frequency that I couldn't figure out how to articulate as an artist. Artists look at the world through an artist's eye. We're always looking for how does light play through a tree? How does light reflect off of the water surface? How in the world would I articulate that into something that somebody else could see and go, oh yeah, it's water, oh, it's a tree. But it has meaning and it's unique upon to me. And light language became the translation tool for the way that I'm able to see the world, the way that I look at it through an artist's eye, the way that I look through it as an acupuncturist who does nothing but energy work. and creating a space of communicating light. So when I say my cognitive mind has no clue what light language is, it's because light language defines translation. It defines being put into some nice, neat little box. The internet's done its best job. A lot of great minds on there trying to be able to define these things that refuse to be defined. And when you sit with light language and try to embrace the frequency that's there, you suddenly realize it is a vibrational expression, and you cannot translate it into English or any other language. Right? It's a resonance. It's a frequency. It's like if you want to be angry, go put on some angry music and rock out to it. You want to be happy? Put on some happy music and do the same thing. The vibrational frequencies that we expose ourselves to throughout our life determine what we're able to have access to. And light language takes it to another notch up. It turns it into the space that we're able to articulate which language cannot. And I know I'm speaking in circles, and that's because light language doesn't want to be defined within the loop of the reality that we live within. It comes from outside of that space. The gentleman who channels Bashar says, through Daryl, that light language is actually the precursor to channeling. And I agree with that on some levels. And channeling, of course, gets translated into the tongue that somebody's speaking in. So in Bashar's case, it's English. And at the same time, there's something extra that shows up in light language. There's something extra that has a frequency. And when people slow down enough to be able to listen to what's there, they have a different experience. And yeah, it's garble, and the mind wants to tear it apart, and this is nonsense, and this is just, how many drugs has that guy done? The answer is not as many as you think, right? The piece behind me came out of a space of being completely sober. Came out of a space of seeing a frequency that I wanted to express, written light language around the outside, and a radiating field that gave a frequency that actually holds down space for my partner in her counseling office. She tells me that frequently she sees all of her clients staring at it as they're looking for some sort of a way to be able to connect with the challenges that are there in front of them. Written light language is something that's relatively easy for me to do at this point in time. Pick up a pen and decide, am I writing in English? Am I writing in light language? And whatever I've decided is what comes out of the pen. Spoken light language is the same. Some of the videos that I've done, I'll actually put my hand on a piece to pick up the frequency of what's there, and light language will actually change for me. It'll shift depending upon what frequency I'm connecting with. So what is light language? It's a vibrational experience that defines explanation. And of course, our cognitive mind wants to put it into some sort of a box, wants to put it into something that feels good. This is that. Right? It's the defining characteristics of it. That is an apple. There's a book. There's a car out there on the road. Right? The running, the jumping, all the things that we do, the verbs, the nouns, and their interactions, and light language is a part of that expression. Light language is an expression all on its own. It defies the human language. If we look at Patricia Wall's definition, dating back to the Tower of Babel, everybody could communicate with everybody. Not because we spoke the same language, but because we spoke vibrational frequency. When infants are first learning to talk, we call it, toddler babble, whatever is there. And if you listen to what they're saying, it actually sounds very similar to light language. One of my good friends, when her son was young, that's where she actually got interested in light language, because he was speaking in this tongue that was repeating and certainly had sound and tuning into the vibrational frequency. Abigail was able to pick up on what he was asking for. And of course, parents will learn what their kids are needing. This cry means my diaper's dirty. That cry means that I'm hungry, right, or upset, or scared, and we'll learn how to translate our children. But we're translating from a space that doesn't make cognitive sense to the adult mind. The human body can only pick up somewhere between 1 to 4% of the known frequencies in the universe. And I say 1 to 4% because it depends upon who you ask. But if the universe is approaching the infinite, if not truly infinite, then whatever frequencies humans can pick up is minuscule, is essentially zero. Right? So if we go with the largest number, 4% of the known frequencies, that means there's 96% of the universe out there that our bodies cannot translate. They have no idea that it exists. Right? There could literally be a creature on our planet who has skin that reflects only ultraviolet light, and it would be completely invisible to humans. A butterfly would see it. And if we could communicate with a butterfly, we'd think it's crazy. What are you talking about, the animal over there? It's just an open field. Right? But the butterfly would see it, and it would be part of its reality, and the human body, the human mind, even our eyes would not be able to translate what's actually there because our frequency experience is limited. So light language is trying to open that up. Not that I can promise we'll see ultraviolet light, but there is research that's come out that says that the human eyeball can actually translate and see, it can see magnetic fields. It's our brains that can't translate it. It has no idea what's going on. It's background static for all of us. Right? People that see auras. I think one translation of seeing an aura is seeing somebody's magnetic field. What's actually around there? The EMF that's coming off of their body through the activation of a double toroid field, where we're going from the heart to the lungs and the heart to the body, with liquid iron moving through our blood. Right? It's a resonant field. Humans can be measured from an incredible amount of distance, but most of us can be measured as far as the frequency that we put off, at least 30 feet away from our physical body, which actually describes why when we're sitting inside on a cold winter's day, the house is a balmy 70 degrees, and we're still cold. Why? Because our body, part of our energy is outside of the house. It's feeling the cold. Right? On a summer's day, still 70 degrees inside the house, but it feels hotter because the outside is hotter and we're experiencing the external heat as part of our experience of the world that's around us. Okay, it's gone. Here comes the light language. An expression and a activation? No. An invitation to open ourselves up to something that's larger, something that doesn't make sense to the cognitive mind, but speaks directly to the soul, using this vibrational expression. Look, there I am defining it through the internet. To connect you with something that your soul has always known, that it's always wanted to experience, and the limited reality that we live within keeps us from finding those larger expressions. So for today's gift, here we go. This is a good space to explain. I'm feeling my brain shift in this area. I'm feeling the activity in the brain shift to a different vibrational frequency. And when I say that I'm losing the English, it's going away, it's because I'm going into a different state and I'm starting to channel something that does not go into English. And as the sentence continues, it gets harder and harder for me to complete the sentence because it wants to go right into light language. It wants to go into a different expression that I'm not able to articulate, no matter how strong my vocabulary happens to be. I'm not able to say what light language is. So here's light language defining itself for us. Wow, that's a cool thought. Here it is defining itself. I hope you can listen to it. I hope you can hear it from a space where you're not trying to translate what's coming through, trying to make a word-to-word correlation in there. Pick it up as a frequency. Pick it up as something that's encouraging you to open yourself up into a larger expression than what you've ever experienced before. Allow yourself to challenge the world that we live within and the constraints of what we're told is right and wrong, what we're told is reality, and what we're told is imagination. Okay? Kamaraka te shini katamaha te te, kamoroko to shiti ka tmoho tate, tamoko shini shimarakata, kamaroko to kote shika, kamaraka to mohoto, kumota kaite, kamwa shini te kamoroka te, ratarakamokata, karakatamokoto, kutikirikata, kamaraka to moho shini ne kimo, tikide marakate te moko. Tamarata seriti, samo serakai, shinamoko te nia te nia hata, kamoto, shinira kanamoto kate. Takai shinamoto rata rakatamoroka tarakamotoko shinyaki nyakamoto pe sirakamoko te setekai. Yamasukatamoho tokomoko te kamata sachi shinakatamoho tomo shirika. Shinina shinkamoto kamo te shinyahata. Kamarokotomo tiki shimoka tarakamoho tateta. Imoroko siniara moko di shinakamo take shinakamoka tenate. Kamarakato mohoto, kamo kai shirite mai tide ki moho takate nishnya ni moroko tirakata moko taikite taka. Tekaite shinakamu to mo tokiri kamarokatai shinina marakate mokoro kuzishina marakata kai noko. Kamarakata moko shi sharakata moko taiki shnikata moko te sekate. Kate kumo oti shinini i marakati shinaka mo tire tarakata makatai ta. Tataite shinini no moro tarakatamoko tati the murokataiti mo te natamoko. Kamarakatamoko to shinikamo kaiti shnati kamati nira rumor otishinati no moto. Ushina hataki nirakamo urakate keshnikakamukaite. Otomoko sitita, como hoite tida, tanisha moho doko ta teta. Teta da ka koshina katamora kata rakatamoho tidisina tika matakatai. Kaichi shina katamako kogo hositi atamako. Kamarakata komoko toko shitika mo tikitira tamo taiti shina takata. Tekaita shino toko moro kotereta. Karakate tita. Titita kamoroko. Komoroko tahai shinita kamako toko. Kamarata. Thank you for listening, my friends. I hope my definition of what light language is helps you to better understand this amazing vibrational frequency. I've seen it shift people, I've seen it open their hearts, I've seen it break through experiences, traumas, seen it break through awarenesses. I've experienced it opening up deeper levels of people's experience of the world and giving them a totally different perspective. In my artwork, people will stare at it because it vibrates in a way that we don't see other artwork vibrate. At least that's my experience of it. I'm the artist, so I may be a little bit biased, but also there's a resonance field in all artwork. And the artwork that I've chosen to put light language in has a frequency that's totally different than anything else. Again, thank you for joining me, my friends. I hope you make it a beautiful day. Until next time, be well.